So the way this particular die is read is that it's read as the bottom, okay, upright number. So you see 3 numbers here. So the number on this die is 4, and on every side you'll see the number 4. So this dice is read as 4, okay, it's the upright number. This is the most difficult die to read. Okay, next you have a 6-sided die. So this from here is all very common. So all these dice are read as the top number. So this die will be number 6, and it's called a hexahedron. Next we have an 8-sided die. So 8-sided die has 8 sides, so it's read as the top number. So the number on this die is 2. This die is called an octahedron. Next we have a 10-sided die. Okay, so there are 2 unique features on this die. When it shows a 0, we want you to consider as a 10. It's also the only irregular polyhedron in the series, and this is called a decahedron. Okay, same like the English word a decade. Okay, decahedron. Finally, we have 2 other dice, the larger dice. So the next larger dice is a 12-sided die, and it's called a dodecahedron, read as the top number as well. So this die is read as number 12. And finally, the biggest sided die they have is a 20-sided die, and it's called an icosahedron, and it's read as the top number. Okay, so from there, basically the characteristic of this whole game is that it has a lot of similarity to fractions. So when you see a 2 on an 8-sided die, basically what it's telling you is that this die is 2 is showing 2 out of a possibility of 8 numbers. So this die is only 25% strong or a quarter strong. So if you have this die, okay, in your number lineup, that means it's a weak number. You should try your best to use this die in your attack, okay? Because any low number that you use or below average number that you use to attack will become stronger because it has a chance to become bigger. Okay, now I'll give you some examples of how we can use dice to improve your dice skill. So let's say you see a number 6 and 8. To add it up, it will be 14. Okay, 4 plus 9 will give you 13. 3 plus 6 plus 9 will give you 17. 8 plus 15. Okay, so what I like to do is when I have 8 plus 15 minus a 4, I don't try to add up the whole number together. So what I try and teach my students is that instead of adding and then subtracting, what I do is straight away I subtract 8 from 4. So then I get a balance of 4. So the answer is 15 plus 4 is 19. So it's a lot easier for them to add up mental sums like this. So here we have no choice, we have to multiply. So we've got 54. So from 54 we minus a 8. So then the difference is I take a 4 away from the 4. 54, so then I have a balance of 46. Okay, so this really helps them to improve their mental sums. So once they get used to it, then we introduce them to how to use numbers using add and subtract. So to play this game, basically they're using the 4 yellow numbers and trying to figure out how I can use subtraction and addition to get the target number in red, which is 18. So how do I get that? So I can see 9 plus 7 gives me 16. So how do I get a 2? So 6 minus 4 gives me a 2. So I have 9 plus 7 minus 4 plus 6 will give me an 18. Okay, and another example, okay, how to get 12. So I can see straight away from there, I have 4 plus 6 will give me 10, 9 minus 7 will give me a 2. So I have 10 plus 2 will give me a 12. Next, then we train them on how to use the 4 operations, plus, minus, multiply, divide, to get a target number 18. Okay, so here basically they should be able to see that 3 times 5 will give me 15. So I can get a 3 from 7 minus 4. So you can see the value of this game, how students can manipulate and see patterns with numbers, which is so important in Math Olympiad. So 18 is achieved by 3 times 5, 15, and then 7 minus 4 is 3, so 15 plus 3 gives me 18. How do I get 15? Straightforward, 3 times 5. How do I get 17? So straightforward, 12 plus 4 plus 3, 17. 12 plus 4 plus 1, 17. Then next, how do I get so what's the secret to this game? So the secret to this whole game lies in probability. Each of the dice has a characteristic that will show you. In fact, the dice are all screaming to you, telling you to use them or not to use them. So when a die, usually in my game, when I see a die that's below average, I'll use the die to attack. For example, if I have a 20-sided die that's showing a 1, I definitely will use that to attack my opponent. So that's the trick to the game. So now the objective. So here are the 5 rules to the game. Okay, so the objective of the game in each round, you must capture all your opponent's dice. Okay, and when you capture all the dice after the game, you'll win one round. And the game is played over 3 rounds. So if you can win at least 2 rounds, either 2-0 or 2-1, you win the game. Okay, here's rule 1. So first, all the players will roll their dice and then arrange them in ascending order. So the white numbers stand for the numbers shown on the dice. So these are the numbers shown on the dice. The red numbers, you'll never see them. They indicate the number of sides to the die. It's very important because then it tells me what dice to use in my attack. For example, my 15, okay, on a 20-sided die is very strong. So is my 9, so is my 8. My 3 on an 8-sided die is considered weak because it's below average. 4 out of 8 is average, so 3 out of 8 is below average. Same thing for my opponent, 4 out of 10 is below average. This is a strong die, 4 out of 20 is a weak die. So very simple. The first rule is that the person with the lowest number will start the game. So in this case, the lowest number is 2, so both players have 2. The next lower number is 3, so the other player has a 4. So player 1 will start the game, and player 1 will get a red chip that will be put on his side to indicate that he has a penalty, because we found in research studies that this game, whoever starts it has a higher chance of winning. So in order to equalize the game, we introduce the red die. We'll explain how the red chip is used in the rule 5. Okay. So rule number 2, there are 2 ways to attack your opponent. The first way is a strength attack. The second way is a mind attack. So let's look at a strength attack. So let's say these are the dice that player 1 has. So if he wants to use a strength attack to attack his opponent, let's say first he must decide what to attack. So let's say he decides he wants to attack 4 out of 20. So it's a lot of choices in terms of a strength attack. He can use the 4 out of 6, the 8 out of 10, 9 out of 12, and 15 out of 20 to attack the 4 out of 20. Okay, so the strength attack is basically using one die against your opponent's white die. As long as your die is bigger than the opponent's die, you can capture it. Okay, bigger or equal. Okay, that's the strength attack. You have 2 options, bigger or equal. Okay, in a mind attack, you are allowed to use 2 or more dice against one die to capture one die from your opponent. You are allowed to use any combination of the dice that I showed you earlier. You can use plus, minus, multiply, divide, and any of your 6 dice. Okay, you can use up to all 6 if you want. Okay, and what you do is that there's one requirement for being able to use so many dice, is that you must get exactly the same number as your opponent. So example, you're trying to capture your opponent's 20-sided die, so you can use a 2 and a 10 to get 20. Okay, so rule 3, whatever you use to attack, you must re-roll. So this is to introduce the element of where the students really start to think about which of their dice they want to use to attack. So as I mentioned earlier, you always want to use your below average dice to attack, because in the rule it says that whatever you use, you must re-roll it. So then that's a great chance for me to basically improve the numbers on my dice by using below average numbers. I roll them, hopefully I'll get above average numbers, or even if I get average numbers, it's still better than my below average numbers. So what I hope to do is to strengthen the total amount on my dice. Okay, so like let's say if I take a 2 and a 10 to roll, and if I get an 8 here and I get a 7 here, my number has increased from 10 plus 2, 12 to 7 plus 8, 15. So I've strengthened my dice. Okay, rule 4. If you cannot attack your opponent, you lose your turn. Here's what I mean. Let's say player A has a 4 and a 5 out of a 6 and 8-sided die. Player B has a 6 and a 6. Okay, so player A cannot attack player B because he's not strong enough to attack player B with a strength attack, because 4 and 5 are smaller than 6. And if he uses a strength attack, which is a 4 times 5 is 20, is too much bigger than a 6, and you must exactly equal your opponent's number to be able to use a mind attack. So that's why this is a very interesting, great game. We created very nice rules to make the game work and really get players thinking and making decisions, proper decisions at the right time, to enable and increase their chances of winning the game. Okay, so the final rule, that's where the red chip comes in. Okay, so the player who has a red chip in the final attack, if they have one die to their opponent's one die, okay, they will lose the equal power. That means if they have a strength attack, if their number is the same as their opponent, they will lose. They cannot attack their opponent, therefore it becomes the opponent's third turn to attack and they win. Okay, let's try another situation. Let's try, what if the opponent has another, the starting player, the red chip, has a 1. So if I have a 5 and a 1, my opponent has a 1. Can I still attack my opponent? What do you think is the answer? Yes. Player A can attack player B because using a strength, a mind attack, he can use 5 times 1, which is equal to 5. Therefore, he can attack player B, okay, and then win the game. If he uses 5 plus 1, which is 6, he cannot attack player B because in a mind attack, you must be exactly equal to your opponent. So the mathematical statements made by the opponent, the attacker, is very important. So listen up to the mathematical statement. Make sure your attacker always makes a mathematical statement to you, because if you observe that it's wrong, put up your hand, call the judges, and he will be not allowed to make the attack on your die if he doesn't make the correct mathematical statement. Okay, some additional strategies for you to think of. Always attack defensively. Okay, so let's say for instance, player 1 is going to attack player B. Okay, and player 2 has got 2, 8 and 11. Player 1 has got 4, 7 and 16. So what should he attack? It looks obvious that he should attack 11 because that's player 2's biggest sided die. But watch out, after player 1 attacks player 2's 11, what is player 2 going to do? He's got the chance to attack player 1's 16, which is 2, 8. 2 times 8 gives me 16, and I eliminate player 116, which is very dangerous for player 1. So player 1 then should attack defensively and not capture 11, because his 16 is already bigger than 11. So the 11 can't do any harm to him, but he can do tremendous harm to players 2's by capturing players 2's number 2, so that he is incapacitated from capturing 16. Okay. And so what are the winning strategies that you should adopt? First, always attack the biggest sided die first. Okay, then attack defensively, and finally you should always power up. That means use your below average dice to attack your opponent's dice in order to get a higher chance of winning. Okay, so good luck on your challenge in the Singapore International Mathematics Olympiad Challenge. We look forward not only to you improving your mental sums, but also working with the other team members to make sure that you also improve on your international communication skills and get to know more international friends, because with the world moving as fast as it is, it's great to have friends in other countries that can help you improve in your studies, improve in your business, improve in every aspect of your life. Okay, good luck and welcome to SIMOC 2015. We hope that this is the beginning of a very interesting international adventure for you and the road to international scholarships for you. Good luck, everyone!